Hello everyone, reporting today for Fun Robotics Network. I'm Abhas, and with me here today is none other than Team 19066 AiCitizens from Romania. They are the only team in the world this year to cross the 200-point OPR threshold in an official competition, and they did it every single time, 3 competitions in a row. Just absolutely insane. There's no other robot like them in Decode, and I can't wait to jump into it coming up on this Behind the Bot. All right, AiCitizens. So first question has to be about the architecture. You guys have stuck with the same fundamental robot architecture the entire season. Why did you choose this design?
Yeah, so in the first days of the season, our first idea was to go for a spin dexter robot. And after seeing some designs already appearing, and we saw that the transfer speed of a spin dexter is pretty slow. So that's why we didn't do a spin dexter, but kept the large width of the robot in order to have a large area of intake.
I see.
Even though the intake area isn't as big as we could have done, it helps a lot with the multiple possession. So in order to make sure that our robot isn't capable of having multiple possession, we added a bias here with grip tape and an extension print on this guide that helps guide all the artifacts to the right side.
Before we get to our next segment, we'd like to thank the following. Decode Robotics is inspiring teams to build better robots with their new array of FTC team options. Check out their updated bevel gears and Maverick hex shaft motors, Planetary gearbox options, and 6mm hex components and shafts for extreme power transmission. Go to Decode.com/robots to learn more and apply for discounts. Kettering University's cutting-edge programs in their experiential co-op model seamlessly blend the professional and academic worlds, offering hands-on, feature-focused learning that empowers students to pursue new ideas and inspires other institutions to follow their lead. Don't just be ahead of the curve, create the curve. Get more information at kettering.edu/first.
Awesome. Yeah, let's jump into the drivetrain first. You guys have just been so fast on the field this entire season. What are you using for your drivetrain, and why did you decide that?
I can flip it over, actually. We wanted a really fast drivetrain due to the long trajectories that we have to drive to this season. So our first goal with the drivetrain was keeping it as light as possible. So we used bare motor from Gobilda and made the power ratio through 2 sets of gears.
And one thing that is making it really efficient is that it has just one stage. We usually see the bare motor chassis done with 2 stages, sometimes with 1 belt and then 1 gear. The gears prove to be more efficient than the belt, and that's why I used just 1 stage with gears.
Yeah.
With gears.
And while we're down here talking about the wheels, you guys are using those new softer Gobilda wheels. Did you replace them throughout the season? I mean, they look like brand new. So talk to me a little bit about your experience with that.
This is the first competition for these rollers. We haven't actually tested them in a real competition yet, so we are not yet to talk about them.
Okay, yeah, but so far so good. I mean, you guys have had a couple matches, they've gone well.
Yeah, I mean, we can really see the difference, and it really helps. Like, even with lighter robots, the difference is there.
Awesome, yeah. Now talking a little bit about odometry while we're down here already. I see you guys have 3 odometry wheels, but you are using pinpoint, so walk me through what's going on there.
Okay, so in the first weeks of the season, we had some inconsistencies with the pinpoint. That's why we used still the regionals. We used 3-wheel IMU localization, and then we figured out how to solve the problems with the pinpoint. But we thought about having also a fail-safe in case of the pinpoint is going to fail. That's why we have the right now we use the 2-wheel pinpoint, but we are capable of switching to 3-wheel IMU in match if the pinpoint fails.
So is that automatically, if your pinpoint is throwing errors, or if there's a lot of drift, you automatically switch to a 3-wheel basis?
If the position of the robot on the field is not accurate, if we see some big differences between positions in small time periods, it automatically switches to 3-wheel IMU.
Okay, also, you can't leave us hanging. You said you solved the pinpoint issue. How did you solve it? What was going on?
Okay, so most of the pinpoint issues are coming by the hardware not being isolated that much. Right now I'm gonna show you how we isolated the pinpoint. We have to remove the back plate.
Yeah, so as he said, also for protecting the pinpoint, we added this back plate that prevents ESD to directly to the pinpoint, and also helps us protect our hubs that are placed in the inside of the robot. You can see it here.
Right here, the pinpoint is sitting on a printed PLA piece. Then we isolated it with a couple of electrical tape, and then we added this gate to add more protection. Also on the main power cable. Then we are coming with this big polycarbonate plate to make sure that the hubs and cables are not getting in contact with other robots, because this zone is kind of exposed.
I see. Yeah, let's keep that plate up a little bit while we talk through the intake and the transfer now.
Yeah.
So with the intake, you already talked to us about the biasing and then also that. But as far as the transfer, is it same motor, like 2 motors for the intake and transfer, or 1 motor for intake, 1 motor for transfer?
Okay, so at the start of the season, we used at the first of the season, we used just 1 motor to power all of our 4 stages that we used while intaking and transferring. The problems we encountered was that single motor got into overcurrent when we are intaking 3 bows. That's why we switched we splitted the transmission with 2 motors. Every one of them is powering 2 stages. So this motor right here has a final RPM of 2000, and then the second one has a final RPM of 1700. And that when intaking right now, the first 2 stages are powered at a max power, and then the last 2 stages back there are powered just 30%, so we are not encountering the overcurrent problems.
Awesome. Yeah, and talking a little bit about any like software automations or anything like that, do you guys do that, or is it just straight drive practice?
Yeah, we've done many programming automations. The first and the most important is that the capability of shooting everywhere from the field.
But intaking specifically, do you guys have any automations, or you haven't found any?
No, the most interesting thing that we did is that we mechanically constrained the intake so that it cannot take more than 3 bows. So we don't have to add any sensors. That's how we kept our loop times really low. We have maximum 10 milliseconds of loop time. That's what helps us have a really consistent turret even when the drivetrain is at higher speeds.
Yeah, and now moving on to the transfer. I mean, your guys' transfer is just second to none. I mean, the whole season, it's just you blink, all the artifacts are out, they're all in the goal. How have you optimized your transfer so much?
Since the start of the season, we wanted a transfer trajectory that was as straight as possible and didn't have any slant to it. So that the motors don't have to put a lot of effort into moving the artifacts through our robot. I think the most important thing on our transfer is keeping the compression as low as possible and having a really high RPM. Basically, the compression is like 3 millimeters on the transfer wheel, and the whole transfer ramp is very smooth, so that the ball doesn't encounter any
Friction.
Yeah, friction. Yeah. Throughout the path. Also, more important than the transfer speed is the transfer reaction time between the action zone of the gecko wheel and the action zone of the rhino wheel. Mm-hmm. It's like 1 millimeter, so that when we press the transfer button, it's almost instant, so we don't have to wait for it anymore.
Wow, yeah, that's just incredible. Now moving on to the shooter. I mean, the first question with the shooter has to be the bevel gears. You know, people have wondered about it all season. I've personally wondered about it all season. What motivated you to go with that bevel gear shooter?
Since the start of the season, we tried I think like 10 iterations of shooters. We had belted ones, we had geared ones, and also we had bevel geared ones. Bevel gears prove to be very efficient and have very less friction when the motors aren't completely constrained. You see a little wiggle room in here because it's only tied with a zip tie. So even though it has a little bit of backlash, it proved to be way more efficient than a belted transmission.
So your motors are not actually screwed into any plate; they're just zip tied down.
Well, they are screwed into the sprint, but if we take out the zip tie, they can just move around freely.
Wow. Okay, very interesting. Is
Yeah.
this something? How did you realize this? Like, were you just testing, or was it by accident? I mean, how do you stumble across something like that?
After we tested with some TPU printed dampeners that fully mounted the motor, we realized that if the motor is fully constrained, the vibrations caused by the 6,000 RPM motor will transfer into the shooter's structure. That will make our artifacts go in inconsistent places.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this is just genius. As far as going, like, talking about the shooter wheel goes, do you have like any advice to teams? Like, how have you just gotten it to be like so consistent?
The consistency comes from having a frictionless system, and also when tuning the robot, we made sure that all of the 3 bows that are shooted are going into the same place, because I saw some shooting while moving robots that kept shooting the 3 balls with different power. That's causing the balls to fall off over the classifier.
Yeah. As far as just talking about those bevel gears a little bit more, are you running like thrust bearings on them, or you haven't had the need to put thrust bearings on those bevel gears?
No, we are just running like normal
Okay.
normal
And,
bearings.
yeah, I guess maybe the vibration reduction is helping so much that you don't have like very high.
It really is,
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, it's the same reason as we found on our drivetrain. Gears seem to be way more efficient than belt systems, and that's why we implemented it on our shooter too.
Awesome. Yeah. Also talking about backspin, you guys famously are not running a counter roller shooter, but you don't miss the balls. The artifacts don't bounce outside of the goal. How?
Well, in the start of the season, we tried like 5 iterations of counter rollers, but each one seemed to make the shooting more inconsistent, and also add way more compression to the artifact, causing the flywheel to lose its speed. That's why when testing, we found out that having a really smooth curve to the artifact guide helped us reduce the backspin.
Are you reducing that friction, or are you making it smoother, like via some like chemical smoothing or sanding, or like how are you making it smooth?
Well, this part has actually gone through a little bit of sanding, and also it's the fact that it's got worn out throughout the season.
We can't wait to see how you guys do for the rest of the championship. Reporting for Fun Robotics Network, I'm Abhas, and this is Team 19066 AiCitizens from Romania. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to stay up to date on future fun videos. Kettering University's cutting-edge programs and their experiential co-op model seamlessly blend the professional and academic worlds, offering hands-on, future-focused learning that empowers students to pursue new ideas and inspires other institutions to follow their lead. Don't just be ahead of the curve, create the curve. Get more information at kettering.edu/first. Studica Robotics is inspiring teams to build better robots with their new array of FTC team options. Check out their updated bevel gears and Maverick hex shaft motors, Planetary gearbox options, and 6mm hex components and shafts for extreme power transmission. Go to studica.com/robots to learn more and apply for discounts.